Welcome back, guys, to another video. Today we'll be going through weekend in the life of under trader. Usually I do the week and show you guys what's going on the charts and that, but since the charts aren't moving, what do I get up to? Now, many would believe these traders go out, pop bottles, party, drive fast cars, but I'll be showing you what it's really about. So yeah, we're going to get into some testing. I'm going to be doing a lot of testing going into Q4. Keeping fitness up, I've got a mega 5K PB. And really, what do I do to set up my week? Because that's the most important thing. And the career doesn't change. Being a trader, regardless of whether you're at the beginning or you're midway through or the end, what you don't realize is the same processes will continue throughout. You don't change what you do. And that's why the good traders stay good. And that's why your favorite guru trader is not really trading much, if at all. Let's get straight into it. I hope you guys enjoy this one. Getting laced up here early. It was like 5 a.m. Getting ready for that little flex there. Now, these shoes are carbon plated, perfect for race day. Just give you that extra push when you need it. Scan that QR code if you guys want to follow me on my fitness journey. So it's finally time for 5K PB. I mean, where do I start? I've been trying to do this since 2023. I've never actually had the opportunity to be in a position where I can race it efficiently. So today's a day. Early in the morning, I mean, we're on the track. It's pitch black, no light. Raw dogging it. Just going to do a warm up, a little bit of strides, get used to that race pace, and then we're going to hit it. Objective is 19:59. If anything above that, I'm happy. So let's do it, man. Let's do it. Update on the 5K PB, smashed it. There you can see 19:40, and for me that's very impressive. And the reason why it's impressive for me is I started off on a 25 minute, got it down to 23:22 in the last couple of years, and I was trying to get this PB all last year. As I said, like the year before, tried to get it, couldn't get it. And then I had injuries throughout this year and so many things held me back. And perspective wise, for me, that's really quick because I'm quite a heavy person, yeah. And that's the thing, that level's unlocked now. And now that level's unlocked, I can push forward now. And I'm really looking to hit that time within a 10K and then hit it in a half marathon and get that sub 1:30 half marathon. I've got to put this into perspective though. Like, I'm only, 5'11", 181 centimeters. I'm about 187 pounds, which is like in kg, 85 kg. I'm pretty heavy. You know, I'm not really a runner. I've never been a good runner. And that's the thing, is that this whole process has set my mind to doing something I know that naturally I'm not very good at. I can go to the gym, lift weights, put on muscle well easily. And that for me has never been a challenge. But for me to go into running and really stick to that and put my mind to it, makes me realise that no matter how bad you are to start with, just like trading, and that's why it carries over so well, is that any skill that you're originally not good at means that you can excel when you put your mind to it and you put in the work. And I've sacrificed so much over the past, even just 12 weeks doing this plan. I've been running 6 days a week. I upped it from 4 to 6, and my mileage has been going up and up. And this is what I tell you guys, is that everything is encompassing. Like, you don't just have the charts and the charts only. Your whole life and all your actions encompass what you will become on the charts. And if you can't push through boundaries in your fitness, or you can't stick to being disciplined and waking up on time, you ain't going to be a profitable trader. I don't care how good you think you are. You're not that good. As humans, we're just psychologically flawed from the indoctrination of being young, what we go through and what we're told. We put limits on ourselves that aren't true. But until you realise that and you realise the power you've got, you will never go anywhere in life. And that's what you've got to believe. You have to believe you can do it before you do it. Same with the trading. You've got to believe you can have that 5-figure day before you have it, or 5-figure month. If you don't believe you can do it, and in your heart you don't believe that's going to happen, you will never achieve it. No matter how hard you try, no matter how much effort you put in, if you don't fully believe and visualise yourself there, it's not happening. The race day run is just the race day where you show off your training. The hard part is the training. And that's where the same with the trading. When you have that good day and you're doing really well in the markets and you've had profitable quarter, it's not that makes you happy. It's the fact that you spent 2, 3, 4 years completely losing all your money thinking, how am I going to do this? They're the times that build you up. That wouldn't be the same without the journey. And that's why chase them highs. You know, you've got to chase them new highs, because it turns you into a new version of yourself that's going to be able to elevate. So that's really all I've got to say for that one. Really happy with it. And look, we'll just keep pushing, and I'm going to keep hitting them new highs. All right, let's get into some testing for the FX replay. So I'm going through now a breakdown of the years that I've done so far. So I started back in 2015, going through to 2022, just to prove that I've still got the edge, even trading the strategy how I trade it now. You can see the equity curve is pretty solid. Like, as a percentage, maybe not the best. Consistently risking 1% static on this overall. And you can see that the average are 3 and could have had maybe a bit more than 7. And obviously now looking into The wins and losses, win rates about the same as the live market, just under 40%. Buys and sells about the same as well. And then we see the session. That doesn't really matter for me. I think it's more important if you're trading multiple sessions in a day. Most of the trades are getting tagged in around London session with NY volume as well. A few trades overnight on the higher time frame positions, and equally seeing Monday to Friday trades clearly have the most profit on a Tuesday, but also the most losses, usually because that's when we're seeing them higher time frames tagged in. And mostly on Fridays are probably medium time frame, and they're doing quite well. So you can see the years here, 2015 through to 2018. And the main thing I'm trying to get from this is all of them are still profitable. I'm trying to understand the periods that I have the most drawdown in and go back through them after I've gone through this testing. So that's the main reason of my testing, is to just prove to myself that over the last decade, trading this strategy, of course it's not correlating as much to how we're moving in the markets now, but does it still have somewhat of an edge? If I can get that and understand that's the most important thing, then moving forward, I think I'm happy with that. So we're going to go into some testing now, and you can see that I'm averaging 1.5 trades a week, really not that many, because I am trying to be selective with how I'm getting in. So really just going to be skipping through the trades that I've taken on this period of backtesting, which is 2019, January through to May. I'm really just taking trades based on how I trade. So I'll be speaking through the ideas, and obviously this one's a higher time frame position set at the start of the week, trying to see EU come up. You will see the wins and losses are probably about equal. That first trade loses straight away, so not a great example, but you can see how choppy the range is. So I do give this another chance, I believe, and we see if this can continue up. So what I do sometimes is I stack them as well, and the reason for stacking them is I don't know where the pullback's going to be, and I'm not looking for structural changes on the 4 hour. I'm trying to assume the week is going to go up. So that first trade gets taken out and loses. This next trade is holding. Now I seem to get a daily candle with a nice rejection, so I'm now looking for a continuation of that move back to the upside. And as long as we can get that, I'll be looking for another trade. So I normally will fill up the 1 hour leg, either looking for a pullback if I can't get 2R, or if I can get a trade within the Asian range, covering the zone that I want to within that fib. I'm just taking it at 6, 7 in the morning, which is UK time, and that trade very nearly gets stopped out, but respecting that leg, I do believe this trade ends up running back up to TP, and that's the first play done. So what you got to realise the way I'm trading is that I'm sometimes skipping daily candles because simply there's no moves. If we're at the highs or at the lows, can't really catch a move. Another beautiful GU medium time frame there. You can see that higher low created to test the high, and then we do go for that liquidity high there on the weekly as well. So that's the first set of trades, and that was January wrapped up really. And then there again, we get a daily confirm. So I'm looking for another trade to the highs, and that's really just playing the trend. And you'll see in this period that GU was a lot better than EU. Despite sometimes we do see one of them performing better than the other, I'm trying to understand when EU ranges, because you got to understand when EU ranges, it's no good, because as we've seen in the live market at the minute, we're doing something very similar. But GU here does not look anything like EU, which is something that I'm not really used to. So that trade lost as well. So we equally have some losses there. EU, you can see on the weekly, completely chopped up and can't be trading that until we break out. So at this point, I'm looking at downside. GU broke that FVG on the weekly, really looking for that continuation. And this testing is really important because it just allows you to see in times that you've not tested, being confident in your analysis still, which is hard. When you're just testing periods that you've already tested before, like the last year or two, you don't really get that. But that's also another loss. And we in fact did start to see the upside continue on GU. And I realised at that point, the buys are back on. So switching buys very quickly is another important thing. That weekly gave us a solid confirmation for continuations there. So that move played out really nice. And at that point, we created a downside FVG, which now we could be looking for further moves within. So I am looking for them plays. One at the fill, the imbalance on the weekly. Another one deeper if the other trade loses. So 2 positions for the week. A lot of the time you'll notice as well, like the positions don't get tagged in necessarily. That one was really nice. I'm looking on the daily for a confirm, which we don't get. And obviously, the second position just about gets tagged in where we lose. Now, I'm still biased bullish,
because we haven't broke the weekly FVG, and we can see that price ends up running back up to the highs. Now this second position I've set at the fill, I don't actually think it's tagged in. So we just missed that fill, which is unfortunate to be honest. And then we do start to get confirmations here on the daily time frame. So at this point, I'm looking for a pullback on this next day. But obviously to get the R to the high, I need a pullback, which we do get there. So at that point, I'd be looking for a play. And I just realised I just didn't mark it up. So got to go back and actually enter that position. But a bullish engulfing candle is a really significant one there, especially when the structure is still very bullish. So what I'm just looking for is trying to cover that last POI in the leg, looking for that move. This trade actually stopped me out there, so that trade did not win, which is fine. And obviously, looking back, maybe could have had a deeper stop, but it ran to the high. So that move still played out. And sometimes that's just the way it goes, and you can't force it to be a winner. And I didn't try and force it to be a winner. This is after we ended up breaking back to the downside. I was trying that move out. And then EU, on the other hand, is the one that's just broken the range. And you can see that on the weekly. Finally broken out that low. So another weekly imbalance fill. Just simple moves. Trying to catch top wick of the week. Marking up downside liquidity points to play into. Now you see the tap from last week means we could get a harsher pullback. So I'm aware of that in the back of my head. That the higher chance, because liquidity has been swept, we may need to pull back deeper. That case I set 2 positions. So one's going to be a bit closer and one's going to be higher up. This was done a few hours ago, so bear with me if it's not perfect. There we go, we did set 2. That one's higher up. Covering the overall leg on the daily. I think this was quite a nice move actually. We did the fill on like Tuesday, Wednesday, and the second position just got tagged in. Pure luck, to be honest. I would usually stack them. Sometimes I do have a little buffer between the previous stop loss of the first position and the second entry of the next one, and we're looking for another play because we got a confirmation on the daily. Simply just playing the moves. Like you can probably see how easy the overall trading is on this. So that trade gets taken. We're in 3 positions here, but that one does not get tagged in, so still 2. Sometimes you might just miss the move as well, which is fine. And then this did mess around a little bit. So GU, that trade I took lost at that daily wick, and then we got a confirmation there for more downside. So I took a sell straight away. That got stopped out. And then we go back to EU, and it did play about it. So we're in them 2 positions, and in the end, this did play out, but it definitely took its time. And I think that's really all we ended up doing there for this session. So I managed to get through about 5 weeks of backtesting here in about, 30, 40 minutes? Because when you know your strategy and you know exactly how it plays out, you just execute on what you know is the move. You don't have to overthink anything. And that's sometimes what you don't realise in the live market is you can start to overthink a lot of things. That trade did not get tagged in either. So I do take these off at London close if they're a medium time frame. And we can see here that price is creeping its way down and eventually does hit TP. So that's the overall equity curve there. We can see we're still heading up. And the year so far, first time I've had 5, well actually second time I've had 5 profitable months in a row. First month was the best, and then very, very small wins after that. But profit is profit, and it does still work. So I'm still realising this does still work in the back testing. Great session there. Damn, copyright. Got to have to do a voiceover now. But yeah, just hitting an early session this morning on the legs, 5 a.m. Really just recovering from what happened yesterday. And I have a very big run coming up next week, which I'll be sharing the week of my life. I'm really excited for that. It's going to be really, really big. Something I've never done before. I'm really just hitting on the machines. I don't do squats and deadlifts anymore because it's just too much recovery, to be honest. And these exercises are really good for hybrid training. So yeah, just getting it in early. I think you see there it's 5:30 in the morning when I was in. And just maximising what I can do in the mornings, because that's my time to really just lock in. And you can see the gym's dead, no one's in it, and it's just perfect. And you pretty much have a gym to yourself, which you can't beat. Finishing off with some calves, and that is a wrap for the weekend exercise, and completely just annihilated everything I needed to for this weekend. Set myself up well for the morning. Alright, finishing off this weekend, I'm going to go through my weekly analysis, something that I do every week, obviously very important for the upcoming week, because as a swing trader, I'm not as much based on daily bias, I'm based on a weekly bias, with scaling in through daily closures, which makes judgments only once a day. If we go on to the news, obviously we're seeing pound CPI come in, which is obviously going to come in, it's expected higher. So I do think the inflation has been creeping up a little bit this year, so I think that could be at least 3.9.
As for the rest of it, we've got retail sales, we've got the big services and manufacturing PMIs, which are very important, which we could see for the USD and as well as CPI for the USD. But to be honest, as long as the government's closed, we're not going to get that, I don't think. So very, very annoying. I don't think there's much news and the markets aren't moving that much apart from the tariff news, which is obviously pushing the market. So let's go into last week. Obviously, I spoke about, it wasn't what I expected. Important to see the weekly closures onto the daily as well, though, where we can see that overall the DXY, I think we're obviously within this area, but if this was a pullback, we filled this order block and we created that imbalance. I think we tapped 50% of that imbalance. At least we do have that previous weekly low sitting there, which the structure is looking still bullish. Now, I know that we've created upside imbalances there, but I think that if this just was a pullback, we're going to go up, and there's not enough in the bias. I sat at the end of last week on Friday and I was speaking about how I felt the emotions and stuff and would I close out my positions, and there's nothing definitively saying on the dollar index that we're going to go ahead down again. And I think that for that reason, the trades that I'm in on EU, obviously this trade was stopped out last week, but this trade that I'm in here on EU for the weekly perspective, to be honest, it looks like it still could carry on down. And if we do stay in this range next week, I'll know. And at that point, this is the last chance in these trades I'm in to play in the ranges that we're in. That's what I'm going to say, because if these trades win, then they were right. But if they're wrong, I keep losing in that same area, then I need to make adjustments. So I'm giving this a go, and EU's looking pretty good. Look, it tagged me in on Friday, and it's running up nearly-ish 1 hour profit. It's a matter of, do we pull back into this imbalance and go up, or was this just a very quick pullback for us to continue down and actually clear previous weekly low where there's equal lows sitting now? So the move's only a 2R. It's pretty much standard entry for me, and I think there's no reason on the weekly there to close out. What I would have wanted to close out off if we started to engulf, and we didn't even come close. Friday morning was a different story where it was looking pretty bad. Now, GU isn't necessarily looking as good. We did sweep the lows there, and we still failed to engulf. Like the highs here, we actually did come up on Friday back into this daily imbalance where we had previous rejections off. So if that's going to be the tap and the structures come down, then maybe we'll go down. But we do have a big FVG order block in here. So these trades, right? These trades, I'm going to give a chance, because judgment-wise, and despite me holding for 4 weeks, there's no reason. Someone made a good point last week. There's no reason based on what I saw last week, just because I've been in this trade for 2 weeks and 3 weeks, really nearly 3 weeks and 4 weeks, do I need to see this any difference if I was only holding this for a few days? And if I was holding it for a few days and I saw it go a couple line profit and pull back and we're still in a bit of profit, I wouldn't be stressing. But the fact I've kind of had the mindset of this trade winning, which is not a good way to have it, is that now it's put me in a position where I've been vulnerable and been emotionally unstable. So yeah, these trades will be held, because at the minute there's nothing saying this trade's wrong, and we are still creating that downside structure. So I'm going to keep these trades running, and I will deal with the consequences. I've learned a lot in itself from this period. Now the question would be, am I better off just getting out these lows? Because that way I get out, and I know that if we go down to these lows and clear them, there's a higher chance we probably are going to fill down. But like I said, if I've got 4% and a 2%, I'm going to be up still, I think around overall 3 to 4% on that 200k FTMO, which would secure me a good payout. And that is something I can take, be out of the drawdown. If the trade's loose, I've secured one of the FTMO accounts, that's back at break even. That's more important than closing these trades out, just because at the minute I am still up, like around $3,000. I am going to see these trades out at the minute until we see something significant. There's nothing to say that anything else is wrong. And I wouldn't close out on my challenges. And that's the important thing, is I would not close out. And that's the thought process I had. Challenges, I'm very much, I'm not going to close out. But then on the funded accounts, I'm more eager to close out. Why is that? Because emotions are involved, because real money's involved. That's my analysis for the week. Keeping it simple. I don't really see myself taking any more setups because I'm already in 3 positions. So, going to let these play out. Just sit on the hands like I did last week. Took the EU. Let the GUs play out, and I don't need to do anything as a trader now because I'm higher time frame. I just sit out. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. A bit of a different one. Good to see myself doing something outside of the trading week. That's the perspective of the week. Hope you guys enjoyed. The weekends are very important. That's what I'm trying to get across in this video, and you do need to be on it because the markets will obviously pause on the weekends. Doesn't mean you've got to pause. See you guys in the next one. Take care. Peace.